But here's what I want you to write down in your notes just to start with, please. This is really important. This is such an important thing that I really want to say. An inferiority complex is not an excuse. I'm not worthy. I can't do it. It's okay for them. I don't feel like, it's up, I'm good enough. Having an inferiority complex is not an excuse to become successful in any area of your life. I mean, the reality is, help me if I'm wrong here, Kim, that when the good Lord drops seeds in the ground, he doesn't say to the tree, oh, sorry, tree, you're not good enough. Maybe you can't reach for the skies and reach for the heaven. I mean, I'll shine the sun on you and I'll make sure that, we can give you some water and you just grow.
Absolutely.
And the tree seed doesn't say, oh, no, I'm not a good seed. I mean, they just do it. Yeah. Is that what happens?
That's what happens. And a tree is not, like it'll grow well as big as it possibly can. And my belief is whether you believe in the good Lord or infinite intelligence, and you're made a 10 out of 10 in the beginning. So, like you're this little computer baby that's had this, computer, but no program. So you're looking around everywhere going, okay, I've got to look at my siblings, I can look at my parents, how do things work? And we're taking in information, but who we are, our self-image is 10 out of 10. Who we think we are becomes from the information that we keep on taking in.
Yeah, it's such an important conversation here, because the reality is, in the world that we live in, there is so much noise and there is so much information, so much false news as well. I mean, I've been reading things, I don't know about everyone else, maybe yourself, Reese, or Monmar in South Africa there, that the reality is, some of the information coming down through powerful media sources is just not true. I mean, it's all agenda, it's all false information designed to capture us or to move us off track. So we've got to stand guard, don't we?
Absolutely. And it's not easy. You've got to make, you got to make certain choices. You've got to make certain choices of what you're going to listen to. You've got to fact check everything if you're listening to social media and everything else. It's not an easy exercise.
No. So sometimes it comes from people that you love and trust, well, you think you love and trust them, and their opinion you value, and their opinion could be ill-informed as well. So I think it's really important, guys, like you said, just, fact find everything that's going on and just keep searching, because one person's opinion is just their opinion and the facts are the facts. And you've really, and some of us, with what's going on around the entire world, will never really know the true facts about anything. But I think one of the important things is, if having an inferior complex because you're trapped and you're stuck is not an excuse, I think there's another thing that we really do to move forward, and I want you to write this down. It's the courage to break free. It's the courage to be disliked. It's the courage to move forward, to move ahead, to move away, to walk away, as Jim would say, from the masses. And I think Kim and I were going to start a company once upon a time, a couple of years ago, called the 3% Club. But I think, Kim, I think it's now the 1% Club. I mean, I think the 3% is like different from the 1%, just to break free and just to walk away from everything takes a lot of courage, doesn't it?
Oh, look, absolutely. And, you just got to understand certain things. And, you're talking about friends or people that are, family members or their opinions. You can't change the believing mind with intellectual, arguments. So you can't, their belief system is their belief system. It's like that confirmation bias. I mean, if you take the United States, for example, it's a basket case. I mean, 50% think, Donald Trump's the one, and the other 50% think that, Biden's the one. And it doesn't matter what intellectual argument you they will still have that same belief, and just understand that that's the way it is. And like you said, the top 3%, I think really, it's that 80-20 rule, that Pareto principle. 80% of the people are just not going to get there. They'll just keep on doing that job, that just over broke, and not look at themselves, or not look at trying to break out of that and to become free.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wrote down a quote the other day, and it was a hard one for me to digest. It's a good set of words. I want you to write it down as well. Blood makes you related. So, your blood keeps you related to the people around you, but I think loyalty makes you family. So one thing that's really important in your family and your close friends is, even though you might not be related, some people are going on different tangents, and that's okay. You've got to learn to walk away and have the courage even to be disliked by your family sometimes. I know I do this, when it's time for me to go, even though the family's sitting there and whatever, I just say, listen, I've got to go home. And they say, why are you going? And I said, because I've got to get up early. You choose to sleep in. I choose to get up early. So it's my life. And even though I love you, I'm going to do what I want to do. And you've got to sometimes draw that line in the sand to say, hey, if you really respect and like who I am for who I am and what I'm doing, then just understand and have the courage just to do it anyway. Does that make sense? Because sometimes we have this dilemma, I'm not doing the right thing. And I always say, by who? I mean, by who aren't you doing the right thing? By yourself, your family, friends, peer pressure. Who are you doing? And walk away and do the right by you. And again, that takes a little bit of courage to be disliked. But I think you gain respect. And sometimes that's really important, that if you're going to walk away and do the things that are important to you, make sure you stay true and loyal to yourself for the things that are important in your life. Otherwise, what are you walking away from? I understand you might be in a difficult situation and you might not like the people you're associating with, and you're going to say, hey, I got to walk away. I'm not smoking anymore. I got to walk away from you. I'm not going out at night late anymore. I don't want to do those things anymore. So even though we've had a friendship, it's time for me to walk, to grow, to do something different and take that different path. And I think, Kim, also, if I can relate that to a business perspective, sometimes you've just got to put the line in the sand financially and say, I'm just going to walk away from my situation. I've just had enough. Because, sometimes we get stuck and say, this is just the way it is, but you can walk away from it. I know you did. I know, interestingly enough, your story is so appealing, because once you've made it and you've lost it, to remake it, it's like recreation. And for me, it's harder to recreate something once you've built it and lost it. But sometimes, you just got to go deep and just say, look, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, I think it was Jim Rohn's personal development, that it helps you get out of those situations. See, once it's that old story. Once you become a millionaire, you're a millionaire. Okay, sure, you've lost the money, but you know how to make it again. So it's not about the money, having the money, and the losing the money. It's the skills that you learn in pursuit of all of that. It's sort of like what you were saying a little bit earlier about, Jim Rohn said, don't follow the easy crowd, don't, and it's that small percentage. How do you break from that? How do you change those beliefs? Because sometimes we've got them in ourselves, and how do we change that? We got to ask good questions. We got to question even sometimes our own assumptions, and then go, okay, I'm not going to follow the easy crowd. I'm going to go, I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah. And I think to that point, it's time to scale our relationships and say, who are we spending time with? And I think that's really important. The the family that may be a little bit negative, the friends that may be a little bit stuck, versus upscaling your relationships with people that are on purpose and on intention and have vision and desires that again resonate with what you are as an individual. And I think that's so important, because sometimes we do get stuck in the complacency mold as well. Yeah.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, when that transition happened, when I fell out of the sky, losing $21 million, $30 million of my money, $8 million of the bank's money. My friends that I was meeting with were going through similar, financial problems and so forth. And we used to meet at the pub on a Friday night, and we used to have a few drinks and talk about it. And of course, I started on the products. I started working harder on myself. I was getting those comments from them. Well, where are the abs? You've been on these products. Where are the abs? And all these little sly comments and so forth. But I had to break free from that, because what I found was, I kept on going, but they were still talking about the same stuff every Friday. And I'm going, hang on, I gotta get out of this. I gotta mix with a different set of people. I've got to, push through this. And
this is an interesting one. I just want to elaborate on that point. Reese, Monwa, Kim, Wayne, Kim, there's a thing that I believe, it's time management versus energy management. See, you can manage your time by saying, I'm not going to do those things. But are you managing your energy with the things that you are doing that again uplift you? So walking away from one circumstance because it's in your mind a waste of time doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to move into something else, which isn't also a waste of time. So one of the things that I want us all to do, and I'm big on this, and I know you are too, Kim, is you feel it. And is this draining my energy? Am I feeling like I'm being sucked of all my energy for what I'm doing now with my time? And I got to tell you, that could be like, scrolling through Instagram on social media. It could be, and certain meetings that you're in or associating with certain people, you just feel it and you go, God, I just don't feel right. It's not my time to be here, but forget the time. It's sapping my energy to be here. And I think the important thing is to value your energy so you value your time. Does that make sense, Kim? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. There's a few phrases like, switch off the TV and switch on your life. I mean, you got to make some of those choices. It's you got to pace yourself as well. It is important to have that, 6 days work, 1 day rest. I suppose if you look at our Bible, God created the earth in 7 days. It took 1 day off. So, it's not work 1 day, have 6 days off. It's not the other way. So you got to pace yourself. You got to, for me, I've made choices that I walk away from people that give me bad energy. If they're not, I just walk away. I mean, it's sort of like you don't want somebody sucking your life force out of you. And that takes a bit of courage too. It's not something that you can, because we all want to be liked. We all want to be, we don't want to.
But you've got to like yourself. I mean, why put yourself in an environment where it's not you if you don't value your own self-worth? And I think that's a really good point, Kim, but it comes back to, do you value you? Because if you value you and you're in that environment, you're doing yourself a disservice to stay there. So, be secure about yourself and having the courage to be disliked for the protection of your own self-worth.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got to look at, it was really the ways of, I suppose, changing that, what you talked about, that inferiority complex or that self-image that the person that we think we are, The only way that I know to change that is association. So we're going to make some different associations. We've got to start asking questions about the people that we're spending most of the time with and go, well, do I really want to? I mean, I'm looking at their marriage, I'm looking at their relationships. Is that really what I want to be mixing with? No, I think I should be, who do I really want to mold myself? Because you become the average of the 5 people you associate with. So you think, okay, well, what's their income like? Okay, I think I better maybe make a new circle, maybe increase that. What do they look like? Are they making the best choices in the food that they're eating or what they're drinking? So,
and it's an important one here, though, just to stay on this for a minute. Don't sit in judgment, though. Don't now turn on your judgment eyes, because it's their choice, it's their world. Okay. And again, if you don't resonate with that, that's fine. But we're never going to say, well, I'm not hanging around with you because you're this. If you're thinking that, what are they thinking about you? So 100% appreciate that everyone's on their own journey. I think the message here, Kim, is you can't grow in a negative environment. So if you feel like you're in an environment where it's negative around you, the energy's around you, the conversation's not where you want it to be, what they're watching, what they're doing, their actions, their speaking, I always judge it by the conversation. If a lot of people are talking gossip or non-factual information or just genuine, utter crap, for a better word, I'm like, I'm off. You got a cardboard cutout, and I shut down. I'm not going to contribute because it just goes around in circles. So I'd rather be silent and listen and say whatever. And when I'm asked, I'll speak, but I'm not going to contribute. And I think the message in here is sometimes you've got to learn to shut up and not contribute or argue when people are saying things. And that's another big one, because, you're hearing things. I mean, I sat at a table last night and I'm hearing things and I'm going, wow, strong feeling people, their feeling doesn't resonate with me. I know some of their facts are wrong, but I'm just going to let it go. And at the end of the day, I said, hey guys, great conversations you're having here, but I've got to move. I didn't want to contribute. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to be zapped of my energy. Just remember this: you have to grow in the environment that you're in. You can't grow in a negative environment, but you've got to be able to grow from the environment that you are in. Now, sometimes you may be in circumstances at home that you say, well, I'm surrounded by negativity. There's just negativity all around me. I wake up, this is going on. I come home, that's going on. And during the day, this is going on. So I'm surrounded by it 24/7. I walk out in the streets, I'm getting stress here. I go to work, I'm getting stressed there. Well, again, here's my recommendation. You've got to learn to make some choices and walk away, and sometimes stand guard to the moments in your life that make you feel. That can come back to, Kim, just that personal development in the beginning of the day, where you set your intentions with affirmations, visualizations, doing the things that just sets you up. And guess what happens? You'll start repelling naturally, or turn off naturally, or be better protected naturally from the things that are bringing you down. In fact, if you look at not the law of attraction, because that's a whole thing, but magnetism, vibration. If you're out there vibrating and thinking about certain things, I promise you, magnetically, you're going to bring other things closer to you. But if your brain is not right, like if you flip your thoughts to a negative action, even though there's good things that are in front of you, you're going to repel them. That's how magnetism works. You grab 2 magnets, bang, they hit each other. But if you're off, it's just going to repel. So it always comes down to you, okay? Not the environment, not the people, not the circumstances. Where are you at in your life? Where are you at in your personal skin? Where are you in your own environment to allow everything else to work? Yeah? Is that fair, Kim, or is that just a bit harsh?
No, it's fair, and it's important. You also got to be continually working on yourself, because you can't let that slide. Here's what happens, and I don't know whether I'm not an expert on this, but I read, I think it comes from Maxwell Maltz's book, I'm okay, you're okay, or and he Maxwell Maltz was a plastic surgeon, and beautiful, a girl come in and go, look, I'm ugly, I want to look beautiful, so plastic surgery makes her beautiful. She looks in the mirror, she's really beautiful, but she still feels and thinks she's ugly because her self-image has been wired. And it's like we must have a tape player, those of you that remember tapes, like not like an MP3, but a cassette with a tape going through, that we've taken this information in. We can't get rid of it. It's still there. We can tape over it, but it's still there. So if we're not working on ourselves, if we're not continually working on we'll slide back to the person that we think we are. So we need to continually work on ourselves. It's not just a do once okay, now I'm like I'm who I'm supposed to be. If you don't work on yourself, you slide back. And I've seen lots of people that have become successful in our business, all of a sudden recruit a couple of people, they start earning the royalties, they start building their business, and then they do something to sabotage themselves because it doesn't marry up to what their belief system is, and they do something and then they start blaming.
Yeah. Let me just go to you, Reese. As soon as this information, I mean, Kim and I don't rehearse, we just banter on and we bounce things off each other, and we do welcome input. Some of this information makes sense to you? As you want to contribute in any way? Does this
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory of me. I'm a semi-professional referee, so a lot of this positive talk and surrounding yourself with the right people is something that we have. And like some of the notes that I've taken, like some like the time management versus energy management, that's a really good one, because we use that in a gameplay situation, that you've got to be able to switch off and not engage in those negative moments and really learn to shut up. I loved that term, because I actually say that to people, you just got to shut up and listen and don't engage. And sometimes that has to happen. And, like not following the easy crowd. I've done that. I've separated, I'm 37. I've separated from a group of friends that, for me, they were toxic. They drank, they smoked. They were always questioning me with my life choices and my fitness choices. And even people at I work as a horticulturalist for my local council, and the way my healthy lifestyle is, people just question it every day. Oh, what are you doing that for? Oh, you're going to the gym? Oh, like just these positive habits. And I try to lead by example, but if they're not willing to follow, like you said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
It's kind of interesting because people, if you're breaking free, and kudos to you for doing that, you've got to understand that it's on them. They don't understand it. They're not questioning you, they're questioning themselves, obviously, because when someone gets up here and they're down there, they're going to do their best to try and lower you to where they're comfortable where you're at. And if you try and raise them, forget it. It's not going to happen. And here's an important one for you just to write down in your notes. I'm writing this down in my brain. It's called top-up relationships versus bottom-up relationships. You've got to go to the top and develop your relationships at the top, not at the bottom. It's almost like if you're going to buy a car, you can either speak to the salesman or you can speak to the general manager. You go to the top and you get, if you want to go and borrow money, you can go to the clerk at the desk, or you say, give me the bank manager. You go to the top. You got to try and go to the top and get your relationships at that level. Otherwise, you'll always be, feeling comfortable in the back of the room, feeling comfortable at the bottom, where you should feel comfortable and should feel the energy around the front of the room or at the top. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kim, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, don't cut them completely out. I mean, I've got some friends, the old friends that I grew up with. They're just people that I would maybe not spend longer than 30 minutes with. So they're my 30-minute people. Okay. Then there's the 2-hour people. I could spend 2 hours. That's about it. And then there's the 3-day people. I could spend 3 days with somebody, but I can't spend 3 days with the 30-minute people. So they're just, allocated to different things, and I've just got to stand guard at the door. Like I've got a friend that's coming, to Perth, and he wants to catch up. He's 78. I'll spend an hour with him, but it will be the same stuff. It'll be talking about things that were 30 years ago and still talking about the same stuff. So, I'll just be nice, and be there to listen. I won't try to change anything because I know that's not going to happen anyway. But it's just you don't become that completely cut people out.
And I think I'm just going to brand what Kim said and give you two in a sentence. What are you worth per hour? What are you worth per hour? Are you worth someone wasting your time for 3 hours when you could be productive doing something else? So again, it comes back to you, your value, your self-worth, because people will rob you of your time. People will rob you of your energy, particularly if you've got something that they don't have. They're going to suck you till you're dry to find out that you're just not. And by the way, when you're vibrating at a high level, they're going to come to you. Trust me, they're going to come, and you're going to be like, got to be strong, got to be strong, got to be onto it. But you've got to stand guard. Otherwise, you're just gonna be crushed with everyone coming to you. And that's why you really want to vibrate with the people that are on the same level, because they don't drain you and they're good to be around. But there are other people that you need to be out there. Like, go and help a mate. Go and give time to some people, but understand this: until they're ready for change, until they're ready to do stuff, you can't impose upon them anything. You can lead by example, Reese, Wayne, Kim, for what you're doing and what your values are. And that's really honorable and that's really important. You can wear an aura ring. You can wear a whoop. You can say, listen, I'm onto it. I'm into my health. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And other people will say, well, what do you got that ring on for? What are you wearing that silly bracelet? That's your journey. This is my journey, but by example, they're still watching you. You'll be surprised who's watching you. And I think that's really the message. Like Kim said, you've got to constantly know that you're being watched, and just stand in that space there. That's where you're at.
On that subject, on knowing what you're worth, it's not about what you're worth today. It's in goal setting. You need to set a goal, and you got to give thanks for having it already, like you've already got it. It's almost that process, because that's what the part of the goal setting process is. So if you're in our business and you're saying to yourself, okay, well, I want to get to the president's team. I'm working my way to the president's team. A president's team member can make $1 million a year. So you've got to be that way inclined to say, all right, well, what is that worth? If I work 40-hour week, that's a $500 an hour income. So I'm worth $500 an hour. You've got to actually believe that you are worth $500 an hour. Once you start to believe it, you'll attract also the business to actually make that, but then you'll be making the choices that are necessary. What Wayne was saying about, I'm worth $500 an hour, so I'm not going to go and spend, $35 washing my car when I could be spending $500 going out there and talking to the right people to attract into my business. So it helps you in that regard to the person you need to become in pursuit of what you want. In other words, who you are. You can actually do that because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and imagined thought. So in goal setting, you need to be going, I already have it. Thank you for giving it to me, to the universe or whatever your belief system is.
I love it. Let me give you a line. How do we function as human beings? Write that down. How do we function as human beings? How do human beings generally function? And exactly what Kim said, I want to give it to you 1, 2, 3, 4. So how do we all function? Well, we function first with how we think. I mean, if we think certain things, that creates what we feel. I think I'm sick. Oh, I'm feeling sick. I think I'm going to be rich. I'm feeling rich. Thinking sexy thoughts. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling happy. Whatever you're thinking is how you're going to feel. And what you feel is going to stimulate what you're going to do, what action you're going to have, and then it's going to result in actually what you get. So if you just write down these things, think, feel, do, have. And then you can ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I doing? What am I feeling? What result am I going to get out of this? Okay. And it's so important to understand that every human being has this kind of function going on in their mind. I'm thinking negative thoughts. I'm thinking poverty. I'm thinking excusitis. Well, that's the way I'm feeling. So therefore, what I'm going to do about it is I'm going to sit and watch TV. And guess what I've got? I've got 5 kilos that I need to lose and I've got no money in the bank. Well, it starts with that 1, 2, 3 step. Hey, I'm thinking about, like Kim said, setting a nice goal that in 6 weeks I want to get a 6-pack. I'm feeling good about this. What I'm going to do about it is I'm going to go to the gym. Therefore, I'm getting some action in place and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting some results. And I think the real key in human function, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, and you said it beautifully, is making measurable results in a reasonable amount of time. And that's where the gauge comes in. As a human being setting a goal, no point, in my opinion, and you're the goal-setting expert with the books that you've written, is to have this. I mean, maybe you can have this totally unrealistic goal, but just break it down into a process that says, well, I'm going to edge closer to it, and then you'll come to a comfort point. Like for me, if I said I'm going to go run a 3-minute mile, well, my knees, my back, my age, maybe I'm never going to get there, but at least it starts that process of putting on a pair of runners and going out there, getting fit, getting my endorphins happening and getting some energy going. And I might run the 3-minute mile, but I'm getting to where I want to go feeling better about myself. So is it wrong to have a goal that's so far out of reach and just trust the process getting there? Is that in the magic of written goals?
Yeah, it is in there. It's you got to reverse engineer it. Whatever that is, it can be as big as you possibly can. Now, it's really important when you do that. You've got to sometimes, if it's so big, we're like a rabbit or a kangaroo that's walking across the road in the headlights of a car. We freeze. Okay, so sometimes when it's too big, we sort of freeze. You got to, and it's good to have audacious goals, big, hairy, audacious goals, but reverse engineer it and incrementalize it. Make it into smaller steps so that you understand that, okay, I'm going to get there if I just do this thing every day. That's what we talk about in our supervisor academies. It's either 3, 5, or 10. Invite 3, invite 5, or invite 10 people a day. But it's every day, it's the sum total. You can't miss out and go, okay, I've only spoken to 3 today. So if I'm doing 5 a day, so tomorrow I'm going to do 5, I've got to do an extra 2 more, like I got to do 7 tomorrow. So it's incrementalizing, but doing those things every day. It's, you can't go and say, okay, I'm going to do some sit-ups and I'm going to, for a month and do some, work out, but you're not going to look like a Calvin Klein model or a Victoria's Secret model in a month. It takes longer than that. You've got to work on it. You've got to incrementalize it, but understand that it will in time. It's sort of that The whole thing about every one of us is that belief, making those choices, our behavior, our habits compounded over time. And it really comes that compounding over time. And you just got to have that faith that, hey, I'm going to get there. I just got to keep on doing this every day. Focus on what you need to be doing.
And just going back to the beginning, first of all, making the decision, having the courage to maybe be unapologetically you, the courage to be disliked, making that decision to walk away, and then start the processes. And Reese, over to you again. I mean, just from an athletic point of view and some of the choices you've made in life, obviously the formula makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like the circle of friends I have now is completely different to what I had 10 years ago. And, I went on that journey of finding more like-minded people in the fitness that I could really link with, and especially becoming friends with Craig. It makes sense that you're surrounded by someone who has an even better goal for you than you thought you had. So having that support and positivity really gives you the motivation to try and be better in yourself. And hopefully then we can inspire others to see the journey to want to jump on.
Yeah. Instead of playing defensive, let's play offensive and find that bigger picture, like Kim said, and by association, it's great to get on the offense. I know defense is important. I know defense can win games, but what you got to do is sometimes, bang, break free, and bang, 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 get the goal. At some point, you got to go forward to kick the goal. So defense is important, but you got to look for the angle to break. So there's a whole lot of issues going on with the world at the moment, and we did talk about the noise, and coupled with this is a real sensitive topic with mental health and stuff like that. And most of us know someone who's been touched in some area of their life with the issues of the pressures of the world, to the point where people are doing things. And I think if there was ever a time to be in a community or around the right people, it's right now, because you just know what's going on in people's world. There's a great blog out there that says, sell me the pen. And and you go out there, and the person taking the blog says, well, if you really want to sell the pen, you got to ask the questions. Why do you want the pen? What are you going to use it for? How important? How much do you want to pay for it? How do you want it to feel in your hand? At the end of the day, we're not salespeople by any stretch of the imagination. I still consider ourselves angels of change, where we really have to listen and get into people's view of the world and just say, listen, maybe I've got something for you. Can avoid in your life, and whatever that void is, there's somewhere within our community, there's probably, Kim, someone just like that person who's become successful and maybe got to the president's team and gone through the same obstacles, hurdles, and challenges, because it's not an easy road. Success is not easy, but it's worthwhile, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what happens, it's how you handle it. Like I've always got to ask myself, why is this happening? Okay, what do I have to learn out of this? Is it for me to teach somebody else that's going to go through that same thing? I know that's what it is. So it's, whatever your experiences are, you need to be able to take them in, embrace them, and pay it forward, because people are going through the same similar things.
If we could ask our younger self, what skill would you like to possess right now that you could have learnt when you were a youngster, a young lad, okay, that you could take now into your adult life? And I asked this question of a mentor of mine the other day, and I got a response that I never heard. And I want to share it with you because this is our real talk intimate group. And it might make sense to you, and I'll be interested to hear your feedback. He said, Wayne, the best skill that you can learn is the skill to get over things quickly. If you can have the skill of, no matter what happens in your life, knowing it's just a chapter or just a moment, it's not your life, it's a moment in your life. It's not your life itself, it's just bang, a thing. and have the skill to get over it so you can get on with it and not dwell on it and paralyze yourself in that, that's a skill that we all need to develop. And it's almost like Crackles, Reese, Kim, an old Aussie saying when someone wraps their arm, she'll be right, mate. She'll be right. Let's go. Yeah, no worries. Bang. Oh, mate, she'll be right. Come on, up you get. You fall off the bike, you get on it, and you start riding again. Sometimes I think as we get a little bit older, when we fall off the bike, we just lay down a little bit longer. And we go, oh, it hurts. Oh, broken my leg. You know what I mean? So one of the skills that we have to be really mindful of as we're mentoring people and trying to help people is know that it is a journey, and it's everything that's happening is just a moment. Now, it could be a real painful moment. I'm not holding any moments in disrespect for what they are. But what we need to understand, it is just a moment. And, there are some painful things, some challenges, some obstacles that we will be faced with. I think the reality is, guys, have the skill to get over it and get on with it and move forward, and having the courage to say, unapologetically me, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm going to do, it's my life, and just have a red hard crack at it. Last thing, when we read our personal development books and they do the survey as we get older, the number one thing is regret. The things we should have done, could have done, had the opportunity to do that we just didn't do. That regret, column, let's try and shorten it and say, let's tick some of the things off now. Let's just tick them off. Let's just go all in on some things that are really important, because if they're going to haunt us later if we don't get them done. So let's get over it. Let's get on with it. Let's not dwell on it and philosophize over it too much. Remember that think, feeling, do, have, philosophy makes a lot of sense. And if we're thinking about things and we're feeling we're thinking the wrong thoughts and feeling the wrong things, we're doing the wrong things, and we're not going to have what we want for ourselves. I want to wrap it up there, guys.